Welcome to the KW Story Hub. I'm Ava Durr. This program is part of the final exam for the Media Production 1 class at Kansas Wesleyan University. Our team has been working hard to ensure this program is enjoyable for our beloved audience. As a class, we decided that community is the only real way to show the vibrance of our school. Coming up, you'll meet students like the captain of the men's soccer team, who came to us from Hungary by way of England, a brilliant piano player from Brazil with a passion for teaching, and a persistent coach who beat cancer. All those stories and more are on the way. But first, let's take a look at someone who actually puts the word spirit in the term team spirit. Annie Boswell leads the women's ministry movement on campus, as well as serving as a team chaplain and life group coordinator. Let's dive into the story of how she became part of the campus ministry team.
The first thing that I did when they invited me to be a part of campus ministries was to be a part of a program that we call the Host Family Program, which is just local families in Salina that open their doors to students from Kansas Wesleyan that are from out of state. They don't live with you, but they're a part of your family. And so I started doing that with the men's soccer team, and I did that for a few years. I had contacted the school and asked them if I could. I knew that there was a chapel service that they did every Tuesday night here on campus, so I asked permission as a volunteer to bring some of my soccer guys with me. And around that time, I felt the calling of just doing ministry full-time. I quit my job as a cardiothoracic nurse here at Salina Regional, and I decided to answer the call to ministry, and had no idea what I was going to do. 11 years later, I have between 30 to 50 students that are part of my Monday night Bible study. My job as a chaplain is, obviously I'm a person of faith, but it's coming into a team and meeting every single of my girls exactly where they are. The journey as a chaplain, I think, has been one of my favorites. Just that what faith or just love and serving people can do in how they play their sport and how they can bring glory and honor to God through the sport that they play. It's been incredible. I own a ministry house across the street from KW. It's called the Hesed. It's just a house I purchased across from campus so my students can easily walk from their dorms or their classrooms, and we can do life together in Christ. I'm the chaplain, like I said, for softball, for women's volleyball, and this year for College of Nursing, which has been a beautiful marriage of my previous life as a nurse. And then I'm also the liaison for all of my Hispanic and Latin American students. I'm from Mexico, born and raised, so I understand the journey of being far away from home.
Being an international student, someone from Australia, I can really relate to her. She's been a really supportive figure in my time at KW. Even though I don't go and see her all the time, I do, I still get that support. I also really appreciate the fact that she takes her time out of her day to meet with us if we need to. Like if we're struggling mentally, she will just take the time to listen to us and be there for us.
Just ministry of presence is honestly what I do. It's just loving like Christ, serving like Christ, and just being present. So.
Welcome to the KW Story Hub Student Spotlight. I'm Drew Wardell, and I'll be interviewing the students that are behind these productions. First, I'm joined by Shiloh Johnson. Shiloh, thank you for being here. You covered Annie Boswell. First of all, I just want to ask you, what made you choose her?
I chose Annie because I had never heard about what a team chaplain is or what their role is, and being a part of the softball team, I wanted to figure out what she did and what her job was as a chaplain.
Well, how has she impacted your life since being here?
She's really been that person that you can go to for support, because being away from home, you can't just call your mom every day and have her be right there. So it's nice to have a person that you can lean on for that support.
Well, I thank you for your time, and back to you in the studio, Ava.
Coaches are an inspiration to young student athletes, and coaches who have overcome great personal adversity are some of the most influential to their players. Coach Nolan Jones is one of those who both lead and inspire his players and coworkers. He continues to be leading one of the most tenacious opponents, cancer.
Yeah, I had a stage 3B testicular cancer.
All right.
During season, really I'd go to treatment about 8 o'clock in the morning. I'd sit in the chair for probably until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Get done with that, run home really quick, grab a snack, eat whatever I possibly could stomach, and then just go to practice for, hour and a half, 2 hours, somewhere around there. And then, it's a lot of physical exertion on the body, like the treatment itself. But, the work itself, I mean, the team was very understanding at the time, and that my fellow coaches on staff obviously kind of helped me out throughout that entire process. But yeah, I mean, it takes a village, and I had a really good support group. Yeah, I mean, the steps really, it starts out with, like detection. Unfortunately, I didn't detect mine early enough. Mine had progressed into, there's no stage 4 for my kind of cancer, but mine was as far as it could possibly get. It traveled up into my lungs. So I had surgery, like emergency surgery, the next day after I got diagnosed. So the treatment, there's some different ways you can treat it. For my cancer, BPE. B is like bleomycin, like heavily affects your lungs. I actually had to stop the bleomycin because it actually like hurt my breathing. I only did it for like 2 days. And there's a platinum drug, and then there's a topamycin as well. So that's the platinum one is what really makes your hair fall out. So I did that I did 4 cycles. So it was every 3 weeks I'd restart a cycle. So it took about 12 weeks. It kind of gave me a new perspective on things, and kind of, how I kind of viewed everything. First off, I was always somebody who I do everything by myself for the most part. I don't really take in help from other people, so I kind of had to teach myself a little bit. Also kind of gave me a new perspective on kind of life and kind of how to live it. I'm a very reserved guy, kind of keep to myself, and kind of made me a little bit more outgoing. Kind of squander no moments, go to that concert, go do that thing you want to do, apply for that job you might not think you'll get, whatever. After something like that happens, I mean, like I said, it throws a different shade on everything. That season I couldn't be as hands-on as I wanted to, like as I'm a defensive coach in general, especially D-line. There's a lot of hand drills and stuff that you try to demonstrate, and I couldn't really do that. I had a chemotherapy port in my chest, so I couldn't really lift my arm that high anyways. And I was kind of always very reserved. It's like people kind of smoke me on the sideline or whatever, because that would really hurt, wouldn't feel great. I had to really change how I would vocalize and verbalize my teachings. It was kind of more like giving them more coaching cues. Coaching football, really coaching anything, like kids respond better to cues, really like short instructions that they can kind of register in their brain very quickly. So I kind of had to improve upon those. So that's kind of where my improvements, I think, kind of generated from.
Welcome back. Next we are joined by Jonathan Vela, who covered Nolan Jones. Jonathan, thank you for being here. First off, I just want to ask you, what was your initial feeling when you learned about Coach Jones' story?
It was a very heartwarming story, especially as a male. I mean, I feel like no male should have to go through that. And it was very tough, through the process and going through all the treatments and still having to come back and coach. I feel like it's very inspirational.
Awesome. Well, has it changed your perception on life?
Yes, it definitely has, I mean, it's changed my whole perspective on life. Like, there's illnesses out there that, like, can change your life from one day to the next, and it's something to think about.
Awesome. Well, we thank you for your time, and Ava, back to you.
You've heard some inspiring stories from coaches and advisors, but some of the students here at Kansas Wesleyan have incredible stories of their own. One of those features the captain of the men's soccer team who came to K-Dub from Hungary by way of England. Let's take a look at what Darius Horvath has to say. Darius Horvath is a junior here at Kansas Wesleyan University. Horvath, originally from Hungary, moved to England at the age of 7, where he lived for the majority of his life. Not only is he a great influence on his younger brother, he looks at the bright side of everything and is grateful for every opportunity.
So when I moved from Hungary to England, I was very young. I was about 7 years old. It was in the summer of 2010, I think we moved out. Just August, about 3 months before my birthday. And I remember it was a big change. So we moved out. My dad was already living there for 6 months, I think. So I saw my dad like maybe twice during those 6 months. So I lived with my mum for a long period of time. But we used to Skype a lot, like every day, or at least like 5 times a week. And it was tough for him, it really was. And then we moved out. Initially we flew from Budapest to Manchester. And then I remember he picked us up in a 1997 Toyota Corolla. It was bright purple, I'll never forget that car. And he picked us up and we drove all the way to my little city called Carlisle. and we lived in a bungalow, and it was just, I'll never forget, it was just amazing. Like I was like so like overwhelmed, like it was so cool, new country, new place. But then you get the drawbacks, the downside. So like I never saw my friends again. I went to school there. Luckily I got a year of school in Hungary, whereas my sister and my brother didn't. I made friends, connections that like, I've lasted me a lifetime. I still have a friend I see every summer when I go home, who I met when I was 4 years old in nursery, in kindergarten. Yeah, I got to experience that, but I also had to leave all that behind, so that was a little bit difficult, making friends when, honestly, I didn't even speak the language, so I didn't know a lot of English. I went out, and for me, that's probably why soccer is such a big part of my life, football, because that's how we bonded. We just went out to the park, so that's how I made my friends, and then school started. I started to learn more English, I could communicate better, and that's that. I've always loved my brother, like we have very strong family values. It's the way we were raised. When we were growing up, I tried to do what I thought was right, and I tried to lead by example and set a good example for him. So a lot of times that would be like just looking after him, playing with him. It's simple things really, but it's the simple things that get you far, like the small details, I guess. I looked after him as much as I could and just yeah, tried to show him the right path.
Horvath is a model brother. Although carrying the weight of long-distance relationships are tough, he continues to strive for success to ensure he gets all the opportunity he deserves. Reporting for the KW Story Hub, I'm reporter Jacob Fallon alongside Ava Durr.
Welcome back. Next we're joined by Jacob Fallon. Jacob Fallon covered Darius Horvath's amazing story. Jacob, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Drew.
First off, I just want to ask you, do you feel like you could relate to Darius since you're also a long-distance student?
Yeah, I feel like I can, and for him to be able to manage that relationship is very impressive with his family. Being one whole ocean away, it's a lot different than me being like 8-9 hours away, and I think it's very impressive, and I can relate to that in a way.
Awesome. Well, what was the most interesting thing that you learned from him?
I mean, he was born in Hungary, then went to England, and when I met him, like, his accent, he has such a strong like English accent. You really can't tell he's from Hungary or he's born there, and it's a very impressive story that he's been able to kind of adjust from being from like in 3 different countries he's been to.
What's one thing that you picked up from him that you could incorporate into your own long distance relationships with your family?
Just like being able to reach out to them like every day and not really trying to put them off and just like ignore them, like my family. I don't do that to begin with, but it sometimes is hard. Sometimes is hard to reach out to them. But I feel like with him being even further, there's really no excuse for me not to be able to reach out to him.
So you're saying that him being far away gives you no excuse?
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Just like him being this far, like gives you no excuse. Like if he can do it, I feel like I should be able to do it since he's further.
Awesome. Well, Jacob, thank you for your time. And back to you, Gage.
Welcome back to the KW Story Hub. I'm Gage Thompson. The next story we have to tell is about a select few people who work tirelessly behind the scenes of every single athletic event you can think of. Nathan Morrison is the head athletic trainer for the Coyotes. But what does that title actually mean, and what kind of work does that entail? Those are just a few of the questions our production team set out to answer.
Morrison and Nick Rourke are 2 of the athletic trainers here at Kansas Wesleyan. Morrison is the head of the training staff, and Rourke has been here for 3 years. We followed them around for a couple days to find out more about what they do and what goes on behind the scenes of an athletic trainer. First up is Nick Rourke.
I chose athletic training. I've enjoyed sports for a very long time, and being able to help athletes get back to the sports that they've enjoyed for so long has definitely been rewarding. And I enjoy kind of learning about the human body, the different movements it has, and how to strengthen it up. That we are glorified water boys and girls. We're definitely not. I do feel appreciated sometimes. You've always got those coaches and you've always got those athletes that are gonna test you a little bit. But if you're able to work with them, they kind of understand what you are working toward. And then also the athletes outside of kind of those hard to work with. The ones that are understanding, the ones that communicate with you, the ones that show the dedication to want to get better, those are the ones that we sometimes tend to hang on to a little bit more and go back to in those stressful moments.
We also talked with head athletic trainer Nathan Morrison about what a typical game day looks like and the time commitment it takes and what he finds rewarding within his career.
Typical game day here at Kansas Wesleyan, like for football, we arrive, say the game starts at 1, that's usually 3 hours prior to that, whatever the kickoff is. We're setting up the field in the first hour that we get here with water, our sideline supplies, that kind of thing. And then I come in and we're usually treating and taping the guys for an hour to an hour and a half. And then it's warm-up time on the field, and then game time go, and then you're in. It's usually a full, almost 6 to 8 hour day, so hour commitment on making sure that everything is taken care of at the school, as well as maintaining a good work-life balance with home. And the most rewarding part to me is always seeing somebody go from their worst at the beginning of a season and they get like a somewhat season-ending injury, and we work with them completely all the way through the season. They face things as they have mental health blocks, they have depression, that they can no longer do what they want to do in their sport, but we kind of coach them through that, help them with their injury, get them back on the playing field. And then just seeing the smile on an athlete's face once they are playing again, it's what gives me joy.
This is just a small peek into the everyday lives of the athletic training staff at Kansas Wesleyan. Reporting for KW Story Hub, I'm Shali.
And I'm Drew Wardell.
Welcome back to the KW Story Hub. My name is Garrett Garfield, and now I'm going to be interviewing the interviewer, Drew Wardell. Drew, how are we doing today?
Great, how are you?
Good. So you did the package on the 2 trainers here on Kansas Wesleyan University. What inspired you to do that?
What inspired me was they're always working behind the scenes for us. They're always doing things. They're always filling up our water, taping us up, and they're always in there. They're always in their office ready to help you, and that kind of just inspired me to find out more about their lives.
Good. So, you're from a junior college, and, junior college trainers are, not as good, in my opinion, as, university trainers. What's, the difference between those two?
I would just say, the size of the training room here and the amount of trainers at my JUCO is pretty much just a closet with one guy in it.
Gotcha. Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you, and back to you, Gage.
Making music can be one of the most inspiring experiences in a young student's life. But equally inspiring is the story of one professor who comes to Kansas Wesleyan from another continent, with another musical heritage entirely. Let us introduce you to Professor Gustavo de Carmo, a pianist and performer from Brazil, who is the leaders of the Kansas Wesleyan Music Department.
Just like in the movies, Dr. de Carmo had an extravagant realization of wanting to pursue something epic. In his case, the piano. Once his mind was set on this beautiful instrument, there was no turning back. Here's what he had to say.
The story that my mom tells everybody, because I don't remember, I was too young, is that there was a TV show on, and they were showing some famous actors in Brazil and what they did during their spare time. And there was this actress that she was used to play piano during her spare time. And I saw that and wanted to play piano since then. I think I was 4.
Gustavo explains how he never enjoyed piano lessons. However, once his father bought him a keyboard, he started learning to play by ear. One day, his father asked him to borrow his piano to accompany a choir. This is when the young pianist decided it would be him who would accompany the choir.
I kept asking my parents to get me a piano for Christmas. And, when you think Santa is mad at you, because I never got a piano for Christmas. Of course, it was too expensive. And I was in Brazil, in the middle of southeast of Brazil. My parents didn't have the money to buy a piano. There are no piano teachers around. I was very angry. I didn't want to go to kindergarten. I wanted to go to piano school when I was younger. then after a while, my father actually got me a small keyboard. And then I start playing small things by ear, like the... and my father then found me a keyboard teacher. And I had a few lessons and I hated. Somehow, I wanted to play piano like crazy, but when I got the keyboard lessons, I hated. At first, I took it for a couple months, and then I didn't do it anymore for a while. And what got me into really playing is that my father, he's a singer professionally. Oh, he's retired now. And he started a children's choir at the local church. And he wanted to use my keyboard to rehearse the choir. And I told him, oh, if you're gonna use my keyboard, then I am the one who's gonna play for the choir. And he told me, yeah, you can play, but if you wanna play, then you have to practice. And then I start getting the church music and start practicing on the piano, not on the piano, on the keyboard that I had. And I start playing for the rehearsals, and then I start playing at the church.
Dr. Gustavo should be compared to a modern-day Mozart. His work has inspired and touched many, as he has made a strong impact on Kansas Wesleyan students. His music journey shows determination and a desire for knowledge. Reporting for the KW Story Hub, I'm Ava Durr.
And I'm Kevin Iqbali.
Welcome back to the KW Story Hub. Now I'm joined with Kevin Iqbali. How you doing, Kevin?
Good, how you doing?
So you did the package of Professor Gustavo, who is a music instructor here on campus. So what inspired you to do his story?
So what inspired me to do Gustavo's story was, I knew that he had an accent and I didn't know where it was quite from, and I wanted to learn more about his upbringing and what the story that he came from.
Okay. So with this connection, in music and like being the music teacher here on campus and you having a musical background as well, has anything like inspired you in a way?
So yeah, I think that Gustavo's story, as far as coming from Brazil, not, having the most richest upbringing, but he did have, a lot that his parents were able to give him through the gift of a piano. Yeah. He did a lot with that. He learned on his own, and I think that his story inspired me to do whatever I could do to learn more music.
It is definitely an inspiring story. But that's all the time we have. Back to you, Gage.
We're almost out of time, but what better way to wrap up our journey with a celebration of 37 years of teaching excellence and service to the university. No one embodies the spirit, the ethic, and the love of learning on KW campus like Professor Barbara Marshall. She has a story as unique as it is inspiring. Growing up on a farm in Wisconsin, she dreamed big and made her way to Los Angeles, where she worked as a model and actress, and now she brings her diverse life experiences to the classroom, inspiring students to embrace challenges and find their voices, proving that even the most unexpected paths can lead to a purpose.
Well, I did grow up on a dairy farm in Wisconsin, and my parents were both World War II service people. They were farming 160 acres, so there was a lot of freedom in that. I went to college at Luther College in Northeast Iowa, and I went on a vocal scholarship. They were known for choir. I graduated with an education degree in speech theater and a minor in music. I would spend the summers doing theater at various places around. So that summer, I met the love of my life. He was a director. He came in kind of late and directed a show I was in. And wouldn't you know, he was from California. So that's how I got to California. I worked in restaurants, I did commercial work, I studied. The Estelle Harmon was the big one. At the time, she had just kind of retired from MGM and had a acting school. And so I went there and did just, auditions. I didn't get famous, as you can tell, because, but I had a lot of fun. I spent a number of years working at Lowry's The Prime Rib in Beverly Hills. And I went home that evening and I said to my husband, did we apply for a job together? I said, "You're applying for jobs." He had the PhD, right? I just had a bachelor's degree with a teaching certificate. And he said, "I think I did apply for a job, maybe in Kansas." And then we laughed, we forgot about it. But wouldn't you know, we got a phone call from Dr. Brown, English department at Kansas Wesleyan University, and they wanted us to fly out and talk to them about a position that would be for both of us. Half-time for me, of course, full-time for him. So we flew out to Kansas, and I had it in my mind, this is it. And I liked Salina, Kansas. I thought it would be a wonderful place to raise a 2-year-old daughter, and I liked the college. It was small, and I liked the people at the college, and we were offered the position. Now, it took my husband just a moment to agree. This was a little teeny tiny town, but I talked him into it, so we got the position.
That's a look at the stories we have to tell on the KW Story Hub, but we're not quite finished just yet. In the Story Hub studio is special guest and one of the people who make sure that every student on campus will have their own special story to tell sometime in the future. Garrett Garfield talks with student success coach Jen Moran. Garrett?
Thank you, Gage. I'm joined in the studio today with Jen Moran. Jen, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, thank you.
So you are the success coach here on campus at Kansas Wesleyan University, and in my opinion, you know, having a success coach here on campus is so viable, you know, for a university success. So kind of like tell me like how you became a success coach here at campus, and like what does it do?
That's a good question. When I went to grad school quite a while ago, I got to teach as well and work with college students for a while, and I loved it, and I'd been hoping to get back into it. For many years I did other jobs with other age groups, but then when I saw this position was available, I jumped on it, and we had to move from a couple hours away, but it's all paid out so well for me.
Yeah, so you talk about like different age groups. Like, does that mean you were a success coach at like different, for younger kids, older kids, or?
That wasn't my title, but
Okay.
I've worked with little kids, and I've worked with an elderly population
Okay.
with 2 different jobs I've had, and it's always interesting to me to see how much certain skills carry over throughout the ages.
Okay, do you think it like has helped you into like being a success coach here and like with, you know, college students for sure?
Yes, definitely. With little children and with folks that have issues such as dementia, things like that, people I've worked with memory issues, you do have to be patient, and so I've gotten to practice being patient quite a lot, and that's something that I pride myself in having with the students here.
Okay, so with your experiences here on Kansas Wesleyan so far, do you have any like stories or anything that's kind of like vamped your career into an upward?
Well, one thing, probably my favorite thing about my job is just getting to work with people on their writing skills, because that's where my education was, in writing, and I really love getting to work with someone who doesn't think that they're a good writer, sit with them and show them that they do have those skills, they just need to hone them a little bit. And then at the end of the day, hopefully they go home feeling like they're confident and they're happy in their abilities to do college level work, and I go home being really happy and proud of them. Yes.
It's definitely an accomplishment for sure. So with like what you have succeeded this year as being a success coach on campus, what do you see it like going forward here on Kansas Wesleyan?
Gosh, I'm not sure if I should say this. I talk about it a lot, but it's not, I don't know if it'll ever happen. My goal, my dream is to continue to do success coach work, but then also to maybe focus more on maybe a writing center someday. Since that's my favorite thing about what I do is getting to do the writing and instruction with that. That's kind of my secret, not so secret hope.
That's definitely a goal to have for sure. And you know, we thank you for being here today, and we also thank you for, you know, being the anchor to being a success coach here on campus. And I think it's very important what you do, and we just thank you for that, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Back to you, Gage.
That's all the time we have for this edition of the KW Story Hub. From my co-anchor Ava Durr and the rest of our interview staff, reporters, and studio crew, I'm Gage Thompson. Thanks for watching. And subscribe to our student media channel on YouTube to be notified about the next edition of the K-Dub Story Hub.